Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. So we're going to take a look at another one of Christopher Hill's energy plates from the 1970s. And Christopher Hills, of course, is a famous psychonicist, a radionic type person, and has written many books, including Supersensonics, which he's famous for, which is basically a radionic, psionic, pendulum type book, and he was very famous in the 70s, one of the first to come out. He was the person who kind of discovered the benefits of spirulina and even set up huge manufacturing farms to produce it down in Desert Hot Springs, California, near Palm Springs, and had institutes in Hawaii and other places. He was originally a Brit. He ran the University Without Trees. I think it's important that people know this. You can look him up online. Christopher Hills, and that is with an S at the end, if you're interested in his life and his work he did. He died fairly young from some mysterious virus and so forth, which is typical of people dealing with all sorts of healings and other things. You expose yourself to a lot of different energies. But ironically, most of your radionic practitioners and healers have not lived long. And there is a great back energy from using any kind of tool that you have to be careful of, particularly radionic instruments that you get a lot of negative energy from. If you're treating something of a negative nature, you tend to get the back force of that, or whatever the term I can't think of right now. But you're connecting with those energies, you're taking it in as you're trying to handle and disperse them or clear them in general. This is very common. And there hasn't been too many instruments that take this into mind. Of course, this is something that you have to clear your machines. I've talked about this. We have clearing discs. Very important that you have these clearing discs. And we're moving into other areas because this is a serious problem that we will be making available discs for people to solve this problem as well, because everybody needs this. Terrible leakers of energy and projections are every unit out there, particularly units like the SE5 and every other unit out there. So the problem is there's really nobody out there that knows what they're talking about, so other than myself, so it's a sad problem. But Christopher Hills is an interesting guy. And of course, you know, I've been involved in this field for over 35 years. I'm the #1 radionic expert in the world. I've written 35 books, 4 courses. I've been on BBC, CNN, The Art Bell Show. And of course, I've been making, researching, and developing radionic type tools for over 30 years now. Now, unequivocally, I am the expert in the world. I had the first and only radionic store in the history of this planet for 3 years. So the whole idea is that we have to, of course, go into the details of what's exactly happening out there and give people insights. I mean, the kind of misinformation that's being put out there now by the latest radionic stooge, which I will cover soon, is just kind of shocking. But let's get back to Christopher Hills and his tech. Now, again, this was made in 1975, and these kind of charts and stuff in 75 were kind of groundbreaking, and even you could call them advanced. And all this is a pendulum chart that has been put on a piece of wood. There's nothing, this is a fairly decent piece of solid wood. It doesn't look like it's plywood. Of course, you don't really need it, but he's used any kind of wood apparently that was around at that time. This is just a particular printout. This came from a copy machine. You can see this is done fairly primitively. Of course, this looks like somebody with a little bit of architectural skills actually made this. The fonts looks like they're put together properly, and so does this. And which, of course, is, so does this. So this is one of his little better done things. You got to remember, back then in 1975, word processing, computers, and everything else were not available. So this was all hand-drawn, cut and paste then to do this. So it's quite interesting. This is the fundamental ray disc, Supersensonics, 1975. See that there? And you can see the address here. Of course, he started the University of Trees. This is the University of Trees Press, P.O. Box 644, Boulder Creek, California. So that's where he was based out of, and it was quite an interesting little organization, and the organization did well. I guess he made quite a bit of money with spirulina, which is now a household name, so to speak, which does have huge energy coming from the actual sun that makes it, and it's an algae that grows on water, and it's been around a long time. Like everything, this was the miracle cure, the superfoods of its time, and still is out there. And I've been taking it for years, and as with most things that I seem to experiment with, my actual opinion of it is hell. So the whole idea is that we have to be very, very careful of what exactly is going on there. So, certainly, these things have lots of micronutrients which your body uses, but how they do anything? I have no idea. Certainly hasn't done anything great for me, as just about every other nutrient out there, which I'm sure has good effects on your body to a degree, but it certainly is not going to change major conditions or do anything for you. It certainly didn't keep him alive longer. He got hit by a bad virus, and his spirulina didn't save him. He died. So his high nutrition, all the great stuff, all that sun energy, well, couldn't handle a virus. So, and he wasn't well enough to fight it properly, apparently. So, these are all the things that happen. That doesn't mean anything about anything. This is how the world is. It's kind of a mysterious path of gnosis of why these things happen to certain people. Okay, let's move on to this. Now, again, this doesn't have it. It's just a wood board. This is just a printout here. There is one thing here. There is an actual, what appears to be, and I'm going to pry this out and get a better picture of it. As you can kind of see it if I move it around here. I'm assuming that's a little chunk of crystal in there. I can get a little better. I'm not sure until I actually dig this out. Now, as with all these charts, I've made copies of them. They'll be available on my printout PDF on my website for a few dollars, and you can have the whole set of these to experiment with. Some of these had actual behind this. You can see I've tried to pry this up a little to see if there's anything there, and there isn't. This doesn't have, unless I try to pry this up here, and it doesn't have anything underneath it. Oftentimes you'll find underneath him he had a little, what you call magnetic sheet, which is just a low-level magnet that's just made in a sheet. Well, I think I have one here on his other tool. This is magnetic sheet. It's just a magnetic sheet, and then he would glue his stuff onto it. So, and that's all that this is. And, I think that's a good idea. Magnets are something I think that is now kind of ho-hum because they've been around so long. But a little bit of magnetic field can be very, very helpful. So, and it is, this kind of material is very cheap. You can get this at any kind of home club, online, anywhere, and you'll get it inexpensively. So putting a little bit of like this and then putting this on top of it when you work on it, or anything you're working on, a radionic machine, etc., certainly worth a try. And I'm always a big fan of putting a lot together, which seems to be valid. Okay, now we have, so we look at that, and so there is no magnetic thing. This appears to be a crystal. I'm going to go pry that out. Now here's the instructions here. Let me get it clear so everybody can read this. And you can pause this. Let me move over. Try this again here. Okay, it starts here. Kind of will go to the end there. So hopefully you can pause this and read it. I'm going to read it here myself as well. But all this will be online. You can download this. We're putting all of these together in one little file. So it's really, you can have them all. They're really not all that impressive, but they're interesting. This is the fundamental ray disc. Terena fundamental ray disc chart. As I said, it's just a piece of, this is stained wood. Assuming this is pine. But he didn't really get into any of the interest of wood or anything else. That's just these are readily available at the time in pretty much hardware stores or wood selling stores. So let's look at this now. What he says here is that, of course, he was very big into, because he was a big pyramid guy, is you face this towards magnetic north. Okay, so when you're using this and you're going to use a pendulum, you face it with magnetic north. You're going to then put your witness in the center here, and you're going to use a pendulum as you would go around this circle getting information from it. So, and it's a little bit confusing of how they're saying to use this. Let me read it, but I don't know. Use a compass to align the disc with magnetic north. Obviously, it's not a disc, it's a chart, but that's what it's calling. With the north arrow pointing directly to magnetic north. Place blood spot, and that's very typical in the 70s. Everybody used a little drop of blood, which is still very valid. Or photograph of the person or sample of the substance to be tested at the center. So again, as I said, you would put it here over what appears to be this crystal chip. Hold a vertical wave detecting pendulum, such as the Hill's positive green pendulum, oscillating over the center at the 0 mark on the circumference. Boy, that's as clear as mud, but that's amazing how inarticulate people are and how they explain things complicated. You're supposed to hold your pendulum over here with the actual witness over it. And of course, he's stating to use his pendulum, which I had one of those many years ago. This just had kind of a little color indicator on the side of it that you moved a little plastic bar over it saying you were using it. There's certainly nothing overly special about that unless you're a very advanced dowser. Any pendulum will do. Okay, move a black pencil or pointer around each degree until the pendulum changes its swing to left or right circles. Note the number and continue searching for other resonances. If the pencil is awkward, you can write down the numbers, blah, 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 makes no sense. Make a note of the angle or element number. Define the elements in excess or deficiency in a person. Ask the pendulum to indicate it. So, very complicated and kind of stupid. But let's go back and look at this. So you're positioning this magnetic north, and everybody should have a compass so they can do that. Now, what are we talking about on here? It says matter on here. Okay, and this is where that little crystal is. Let's see if we can get a good downward view of things here. Ooh, my new camera stand works better. Okay, so you have these, and of course you have up in here, and of course it's, let me look, this is again of what's there. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, is that barium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluoride, neon. So these are pretty much the type of gases. We go into here is more minerals, sulfur, chromium, argon. Let me see if we can get over there. Chromium, magnesium, iron, cobalt, nickel. So these are all of the actual metals. These are gases. And we go back into more of nutrients and other things here as we go down into this area. Krypton, bromide, selenium, arsenic, and these are all generally, again, a few people understand, like arsenic is a metal. And then we go into some of the other tracing. It's kind of I don't know why it necessarily calls this a ray. You'd have to study his work of what a lot of this means, but fundamental ray. These are things like lead, mercury. These are kind of heavy metals. Gold, petroleum. Not petroleum. Gold, platinum, thorium. All sorts of things that are listed here that you can check on. I'm going to give you a couple of ways of using this simply. Disintegration, it says here. So again, you have to understand where he's coming from and everything else. But you could actually put your witness there, and you can just hold it off here and say, is there a particular toxic metal in this person? Does he have any toxic metals? And you want it to swing in that direction. Now it's moving this way. It's going in a circle. But we don't want circles. It's going to have to start moving towards what's over there. So we're still kind of going around, which shows that, a skilled dowser like myself, it's moving through these things. And look at it. Now it's even going back this way. And you can point to these things and ask directly. I mean, that's what you really do with pendulum charts to make it easier. This is a complicated thing. I'm not sure what kind of value this has. If you're into the rays, if you're a ray person and like that, that's an interesting chart, but you're going to have to mess with it. I don't really know. I wouldn't spend any time with this. I'm going through all these and photographing them and keeping records of them. But I am disposing of these boards. I'm never going to use something like this. But if you know about the fundamental rays, you want to read more of his books. I'm sure this connects in with his books very well. Supersensonics and all the other ones that he was involved in. And again, you can see here, Supersensonics, 1975. And the rest that goes there, just to get a good view of this. Now let's look in here and find out if there's anything special. Like I said, I've copied this already, so I'm just going to go dig in there. So the whole idea is you can see up here that there is absolutely nothing under here, okay? This was just glued on here, and it looks like it was sealed around with some sort of tape on the corners or maybe over the whole thing. I'm not sure. So there's really nothing on here whatsoever. I have put this through my scanner so that I can scan it off, because when you try and pull it up like that, it will rip. And I also have copied the back here, the instructions, and you can get all that on the website. As I said, you get all these charts for a few bucks, and this helps out the organization. Let's look at this again. As I said, the only thing in question here that's any different is this. Now, what is this? As I said, this is going to be thrown away, so it doesn't matter to me. And, of course, this really is very helpful. I paid a fair amount of money for all this stuff, and, that's what research takes and commitment, and that's why it's important to support this organization. You want to see stuff like this. You want me to buy old stuff and look at it and figure it out and offer it to you. Because, you can print these things out. It makes no difference if you want to use them, if you have the originals. And these are almost near impossible to find anywhere. And I've seen people sell these for outrageous prices. So let's take a look in here now that we see it a little better. It's really hard to tell if, I'm assuming, why would you put a piece of clear glass in here? So I'm assuming this is quartz crystal. It is cut to fit in here perfectly, which makes me doubt, or makes me think maybe it's just glass. Let me look at that a little better. But there's basically no way of getting that out of there. It looks like it was, Did they cover that over with something? Let me pause here and let me dig this out a wee bit. Okay, I was able to dig this out completely here. Now we can see exactly what they put in here. Yeah, it's unfortunate his courses have been lost and his books aren't in print. I don't know if his wife is still alive, but it's so typical that these people don't follow through to save the work of their husbands, etc. I contacted her one time. She never followed through with anything with me. And certainly it would be nice to get these works still in print and not have to. Some of these books, of course, they're out there, which really doesn't benefit anybody just to get it for free. Somebody should be printing these at low prices based in ebooks and making all of his stuff available. But basically, it's lost now. As I said, things are floating around, but that's about it. So let me look at this again here. Give you some looks at this. This doesn't appear to be, I'm not sure this is quartz at all. I don't know if the 70s you could have quartz cut into something like this, but certainly it appears that you could have, that could have been done. Looks more like glass to me, but it's hard to say. I mean, if you cutting clear quartz into something of this shape back in 1975 may have been difficult and expensive to obtain. That they decided to use something that would be just glass in nature to make it easy, but it's hard to say. And again, we don't have any actual instructions of what that means, etc. So we have this, all we can do is go by this. Certainly putting a piece of clear quartz right there that has been cleared out and has no programming probably would help the process. You could use a piece of crystal in general and put it in the center of the board and just put the witness on top of it. And again, your witness should go here. This would be so. Now everybody knows what this is. There's nothing else in here. But that's nice to be able to go in there and do something like that. As I said, you'll never get this information anywhere else. And if somebody does have a board like this, they probably would not dig this out like I've just done. So it is important that you understand the great benefit that you're getting from this. So that's your fundamental ray. We have one or two more of these plates to go. And so it gives you a great look at this technology, and maybe it's something that you're interested in. But this came from, a very knowledgeable dowser that used something like this to analyze a person or a thing to find out what kind of, what was in it. And of course, we have the rays that go with it, the violet, the white, the black, all these. And these are all the kind of, again, fundamental rays connected to this. So this is pretty complicated. I'm not really versed in that area. If you are interested, this certainly will be a great help. If not, it's a little complicated. But, all of this is contained in his Supersensonic book, which can be found out there on different resources. And you certainly should look up his work. It's very interesting and can give you some help if you're in the dowsing field or you're in the radionic field. Until next time.